This is the Soul-Filled Sisterhood podcast, and I'm your host, Nicole Burgess, licensed marriage and family therapist and an empowerment mentor for women. The information shared in this podcast is not a substitute, nor is it to convey professional, psychological, financial, or medical advice. If you could use such services, please seek them out from someone you trust. Now here is today's episode. Episode 122. Before I dive into today's episode, I just want to remind you, if you are a highly sensitive woman, you're a small business owner, entrepreneur, however you want to identify yourself with having your own business, and you find yourself more often than not overwhelmed, stressed out, think that you're burning out, then I encourage you to check out the 5 shifts to end overwhelm as a highly sensitive entrepreneur. I'm going to give you various tips throughout that free workshop in what you can do differently to begin to shift that so that you can have more calm in your life, more connection in your relationships, and just feel better overall. Head over to NicoleBurgessCoaching.com/end overwhelm. Now here is today's episode. Well, welcome, sisters. If you attempted to tune into me last week, which was the last week of November, I ended up not even doing a podcast last week. I took the week off and I had intentions of recording something, just something small, just so you had some continuity between the weeks. And I know in the episode before that, I said, this time is usually like a slower time for me in the sense I slow down in my businesses. Well, yeah, that week came and went and I totally didn't record anything because I really needed to pause myself, and it was absolutely beautiful. So here I am and back, and I've got something for you today that I really hope you pay attention to, in the sense of you allow yourself to actually feel this one emotion and allow it to give you information. And that emotion is anger. Anger truly gets this bad rap. It is talked about as it's being negative. Men are allowed to experience it, feel it, display it, but women are not, because otherwise we become a bee. Otherwise we are aggressive, we're hormonal, we're overreactive, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, anger is nothing more than an emotion. It is nothing more than a feeling. There was a Brené Brown talk I watched earlier this year, and I cannot tell you the name of the talk. I'm sure she's talked about it on her podcast and other places again and again. But she stated that most people know about 5 emotions, and that's it. And that can be like, I feel happy. I feel sad. I feel angry. I feel hurt. I feel upset, which is such a generic term. But you get the gist that most people, or many people, I'll go that, many people, and even those that I've worked with, they don't know all the different emotions that are available. So if you want to know that, there is a download I have of emotions, and I'll make that available for you. If you go out to the show notes, you can find that. But anger is one of them. And I want to talk about how there's 3 ways it can really benefit you if you stay in that curious space of what is it trying to tell me. All right. So before I dive into what those 3 ways are, and yes, there are more, but I'm going to talk about 3, I want you to get curious. Where do you often feel your anger? Where in your body do you feel it? If you've been listening to my show for any length of time, you know I'm very much about treating the whole you. So mind, body, spirit. I cannot just segregate out of a chunk of a person. And I want women oftentimes, right, when their fears and anxieties are really high, they are very disconnected from their bodies because they're very much up in their head and their fears are running them versus the other way around. It's the same thing, again, it's like, where do you feel that in your body? Where do you feel those specific emotions in your body? So where in your body do you feel anger? Some people feel it in their hands, like their hands will clench into a fist. I'm not saying that you're exercising it in an aggressive way. Some people feel anger in their throat. Some people feel it like down in their toes or in their belly. There's no right or wrong to where you feel it. Just notice that you feel it. I also want to be really clear. Today's episode is not talking about anger and at the equivalent of saying anger equals abuse, anger equals rage. That's a whole different conversation. And I know I've had different episodes about abuse, emotional neglect, and all that stuff. So that's not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about nothing more than the emotion, anger. Okay. So the first way I think anger really serves you is that a boundary or a limit has been crossed. So if you've ever gotten really irritated with somebody, like for example, a lot of my clients, they have teenagers or they have young adults in their life. And for example, you have told your teenager that they have to be home by a specific time or return the car in a specific time because you share it. And let's say they get home 2 hours after you have given them that curfew, or they don't even come home at all that night. That would be one thing that angers a lot of women, a lot of parents. Let's say you delegate a task to your employee or a hired support, and instead of following through, they miss the deadline or they don't even communicate with you in a timely manner why they're unable to do the task. Those are boundary crossings. Those are limit settings. Or you have this beautiful, loving family or friend who continuously gives you advice without you asking, i.e., a boundary crossing. That's one way anger benefits you because it's giving you pause to notice what is it that just got crossed? What is it that maybe didn't get spoken to them clearly and needs to be spoken to them clearly? Maybe you didn't articulate a boundary. Maybe your boundaries have changed. But this is something that you can now inform them of. All right. The second way I think anger can benefit you is it lets you know if an injustice has occurred or is even happening. So we've had a ton of those really be brought to the forefront this year. And I know they're also not all new, but for example, if, when immigrant children or illegal immigrants, however you want to phrase that, children that were removed from families, from their parents, and they haven't been reunited, right? That angered a lot of people, and rightfully so. There's racial injustice. Absolutely is going to draw a lot of anger. Gender inequalities, there's so many things of injustice that can really spur anger. And again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it's noticing it. So I have a colleague of mine, and she was on my previous podcast I did, and I just respect the heck out of her. She's doing some amazing work. And a while back, this is many, many months ago now, she had posted about just being really angry. And the whole stereotype of what she'd even heard growing up, it's not okay for her to be angry because she's Black. It's the stereotype of, oh, you're the angry Black woman. And I was watching the comments go through and what she was saying, and I was totally agreeing. It's like, you have every right to be angry because women of color have been marginalized for centuries, right? Here in the U.S., we're built on racial inequality, we're in injustices. And when we don't allow ourselves to feel the anger, then that really, in clinical terms, we know that's, anger turned inwards ends up being depression. So when we allow ourselves to feel the anger, it can benefit us in step number 3, or the third way I want to talk about, meaning it can propel you then into action. So let me go back here for a second. Meaning it can come from a place where you're responding to it, not reacting. Go back to episode 45 where I make that distinction between responding and versus reacting. And I also talk a lot about it in different episodes, how mindfulness helps you get to a place of responding versus reacting. But when I say, can propel you into action, let's go back to, the first benefit, which is holding a person accountable for stepping over that boundary, for your teenager not coming home on time, for a customer not paying on time, for a partner not letting you know they were going to be late for a planned event with you, or again, if that friend or loved one from the best intentions are giving you advice when you're not asking for it. This is a prime example of where you can use assertive communication and stating how their behavior impacted you and what it is you want instead. It does not mean you have any control over them or the event, but they have an option to now better understand what it is that you need, and then they get to decide whether or not they want to do it differently or not. Gives you more information. It also propels you into action, or can, regarding injustice, or because now you can get involved in making changes in laws and regulations. You can get involved in participating in charities that really you want to make a difference in a specific area, right? Or something else that is going on in your community. Maybe again, it's being able to participate and stand alongside your sisters who are of color, who have been marginalized, and saying, yeah, this is totally not okay. So let's do something. It's raising more of the awareness. It's coming alongside others. It's making the changes that need to happen so that we actually do have a more loving world, that we really do have more equality in our world, in our space. So those are at least 3 ways I believe anger can benefit women, and it's not shying away from it. I know years ago, this is back from different generations, like, oh, it's not good for you to display anger as a woman or to look angry, right? Like somehow you're, again, the whole thing about put a smile on your face, it's all going to be okay type of thing, when you're not actually feeling happy. When you don't want to smile, don't. It's not your job to make everybody on this planet comfortable. And if you're feeling angry, you're feeling angry. So you get curious, what is underneath the anger, right? Oftentimes, anger is that secondary emotion. There's fear or pain underneath of it. So is there pain about what is happening to children in the world? Is there pain about what's going on environmentally? Is there pain going on about what's going on in your local community, in your business, within your relationships? Is there fear about any one of all of those? Is it both? And the only way things can actually change is truly through action. And the more we take small steps, we gain the confidence, right, to do more and more of the things that really are in alignment with our values. So I've got an action step actually for you today. I want you to think about this past week. Again, here in the US, we had Thanksgiving last week. So you're hearing this, it's a Tuesday. That's when I share my episodes is on a Tuesday of the week. And so whatever year this is that you're listening to it, I want you to go back just over the last week. Think of one thing, one event where you felt angry. What were your thoughts about that specific event? What did you tell yourself about the persons or persons that were in that event? What did you tell yourself about that thing that actually happened? What did you want instead? So you felt angry. Underneath the anger, was it hurt? Was it pain? Was it more? Was it both? And what did you want to feel instead? We're going to kind of go in reversal. So did you want to feel heard? Did you want to feel trusted? Did you want to feel respected? Whatever that may be for you. And then I'm going to challenge you to actually assertively address that past event with the persons or persons involved in it. And what I mean by that is let them know how their behaviors impacted you. So let's go back. So when I talked about in number 2, how it can serve you, in number 3, when I said take action and you've got, an employee or somebody that you have hired and you've delegated a task to them and it didn't get done. And they've come up with tons of excuses of why, or they just honestly didn't do it. To be able to go back and say, hey, Jane Doe, I was really frustrated that you and I had talked about doing the budget for the month. And so I could project where I needed to go for the next couple of months in the business or for the quarter. And that didn't happen. And that really frustrated me because I didn't hear from you of what it is that you needed or if something wasn't explained. And I also want to know, is there something that I'm missing that I could do to help support you better if you're not understanding something? Or what do you believe needs to change? So you're really getting curious with them. You're telling them how it impacted you. You're telling them specifically of the behavior that impacted you. And then you're getting curious, like, what happened? Was there something that you thought was miscommunicated? Do you need more support in a specific area? Do you not understand the software? Do you need different support? Maybe this isn't even the thing that you like to do. Maybe this isn't your strong suit, right? But they cannot do anything differently unless you talk to them about it. All right, ladies, that is my quote assignment for you this week. So I continue to hope that you and your family stay safe and well during this ongoing pandemic. That yes, we absolutely have hope that, there is a vaccine that is on its way, but it probably will not really see a big impact until sometime next year. I know there's conversations of this going on until really November of next year. So we shall see how it all unfolds, but it's going to unfold in the way it's going to unfold. And our part of the process is to embrace the moments that we're in, because that's all we have. So until next time, take care. To sign up for my workshop on the 5 shifts to end overwhelm and live a more balanced and connected life as a highly sensitive entrepreneur, go out to NicoleBurgessCoaching.com/end overwhelm.